online romance.
The UK is fighting a tidal wave of romance fraud.
In the last year alone, almost 10,000 cases have been reported to the police.
It's a hugely harmful crime which can be devastating emotionally and financially, with the economic cost to the UK last year close to £100 million.
It doesn't matter if you're old or young, a man or a woman. It could happen to anyone.
The man you've been speaking to is not real.
I loved him so much.
And we are back to expose the lies and manipulation behind these heartless scammers.
We'll be uncovering the tactics of the criminals behind the scams.
It's set up to trap someone.
And following the teams that won't rest until the scammers are brought to justice.
And as ever, we'll have everything you need to know to make sure you and your money stay safe.
Who are you?
Who are you? Who are you?
Coming up, one woman learns the truth about the man she's been involved with.
No, you've just blown me away. I feel as if I've been hit by a concrete slab or something. It's not very often I'm speechless.
How disaster struck for the man this woman was talking to online.
He said, I'm in trouble. How much money have you got in your bank?
And how love bloomed after this woman lost everything.
I felt really devastated. And then I met the most amazing guy. He can't stop me crying, but happy tears.
So we've been contacted by a lady called Gill, and she's been speaking to someone online called Michael Roberts. Now, they stopped contact, but since then, she has been contacted by a whole load of people with the same photos as Michael. So she wants us to investigate.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
I was single for an awful long time. Michael first contacted me. He commented on how he'd like to get to know me better. He was good looking. He said that he lived in the States. He was a doctor. And then he said to me that he had problems with the bank. And this was the first time he asked me for money. He literally stripped me of every penny I had. I said that I wanted no more to do with him. But a couple of months later, he came back to me again using a different name. Then he's been on using other names.
So there we've got emotional manipulation and the fact that other people are getting in touch with the same photos. My concern is whether there's a secondary scam at play.
I'm going to go and have a little chat with Gill and see what I can find out.
Jill sent through all the documents, photos and text messages from her relationship with Michael. And whilst Ashley gets stuck into them, I've arranged to meet Jill. Originally from Northampton and now retired after 30 years working in psychiatric care, she has dedicated her life to helping others.
Hello, Gill.
Hello, Kim.
In late 2018, Jill had been divorced for 8 years and wasn't looking for a relationship. Then, out of the blue, she received a message on social media from handsome stranger Michael Roberts.
He was good looking. It turns out was quite a bit younger than me. I was totally flattered.
Yeah. So this man's contacted you. You'd been divorced for quite a while.
Yeah.
So would you say that you were particularly vulnerable?
I was living on my own. My life revolved around work and sleep.
Yeah.
And it was good to have somebody to talk to.
Michael told Jill he was a 52-year-old doctor from New York. He said he was widowed after losing his wife in a tragic accident, and he had a 13-year-old son called Owen who was away at boarding school. After a few days messaging on Facebook, they exchanged phone numbers and email addresses.
He told me about his work. He told me about where he lived, and I did the same. And it was just like two friends.
Okay.
And then he turned round and said, "Oh, I think I'm falling for you."
Michael's words were everything Jill had hoped for. But not long after, What Michael wanted from Gill seemed to change.
The first time he asked me for money, it was probably a month into us talking. And he said he had problems with his bank. Getting through to his account, it had been blocked. And he said his son's birthday was coming up. Could I send a gift card for his son?
Gill didn't want to see Owen go without a birthday present, so she agreed to send an Amazon gift card worth £100. It was just the first of many gift cards Michael asked for.
£700 later, altogether, about 3-4 different cards.
Right. And I suppose at the time, you know, it's not in your head that this is somebody that's trying to get money out of you, because you've had, presumably, some lovely conversations with this man.
Yeah.
And they had, so much so that Gill and Michael had started to make plans to visit each other with a view to making a life together.
He asked me, he said, about going to the States. He would be able to get me a visa, but it would cost me £3,000.
Right.
I sent him everything I'd got, every penny.
Gill was so excited she used her wages to stump up the £3,000. This was money she needed for rent, bills and food.
And then what happened after that?
I waited, and I waited, and people had said to me, oh, you've got to be careful, there's so many con men on the internet, you've got to be careful. No, it's all right.
Listening to what Michael told Gill, there are already lots of things that worry me. Time for me to do some digging.
Michael told Gill that he's a doctor based in New York. He also sent her 2 phone numbers, but looking at the numbers, they don't appear to be American. So I want to look into them and see what it leads to.
And immediately, things don't check out.
Okay, so I've just Googled one of the numbers, and the first link that number comes up on is a whocalledme.co.uk. In other words, this number appears to be a UK-based number. And also, people are reviewing this number as spam, associated with nuisance calls. It's a negative number that would not be associated with a legitimate doctor.
So that's one of Michael's numbers looking distinctly suspect, and things don't get much better when we search the second number we have for Michael.
The second number has come up as a Nigeria-based number. That's obviously very suspect. Why would a US-based doctor have a Nigeria number?
I don't know who Gill has been talking to, but what Michael's telling her definitely isn't true.
Gill had sent over £3,000 to Michael Roberts in the hope he would organise a visa for her to come and live with him in America. But after waiting for weeks, no visa had arrived and Gill was becoming concerned.
And then 7 weeks, I broached him again about it, and I said, I'm never going to get it, am I?
Michael reassured Gill that her visa was on the way and asked her to be patient. Gill had borrowed money from her friends and family to keep herself afloat and lied to them about the reason for needing the money.
Where did that leave you?
Absolutely skint.
Did you tell anybody that this had happened to you?
No.
I mean, losing any money is horrendous, but knowing that you were in such a bad position...
The thing that hurts most is I had to tell my brothers that I hadn't had my money go in and I needed to pay the rent, my bills, get food. And so my brothers sent me money under that assumption.
Oh, dear.
And that really cuts me up.
As Gill's suspicions about Michael grew, she decided to do some of her own checks, including putting his medical credentials to the test.
When I next talked to him, I asked him about the Hippocratic Oath that doctors take.
The Hippocratic Oath is a list of ethics that all physicians memorise when they start training to be a doctor.
He didn't know what it was, and that was
confirmation for me.
Really?
Yeah. I said, you're nothing but a liar. Next day, I had a picture of his so-called son in a hospital bed. He said, this is what calling me a liar has done to my son.
Okay. Trying to make you feel guilty.
Emotional
Yeah.
guilt, yeah.
And you were able to see through that?
Yes, fortunately.
In total, Gill sent Michael £3,700. But now, convinced he was a liar, she set about getting him out of her life.
So presumably you blocked him?
I blocked him. He came through on email. I ignored it.
But the scammers didn't give up. Gill was sent more friend requests by people using Michael's photo, but a different name each time.
I feel as if he's stalking because he saw me as an easy touch and he's hoping to get a bit more, but that's not going to happen.
So, what would you like us to find out for you?
Why me?
And presumably you want to know who's the man in the photos.
Yeah.
Because somebody may have had some of their personal information taken.
Yeah.
We'll go away and see if we can find out who, what, why, and try and get you some kind of answers. Maybe a bit of closure for you.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I think the thing with Gill is that she gave just over £3,500, but that was all she had. So it just shows they don't actually care whether that person ends up homeless. They don't care about the person that they're scamming. All they care about is how much money they can get out of them and how quickly they can get it.
No matter your age, no matter how good you are with modern technology, when you're making connections with new people online, you have to keep your wits about you. Because as our next case shows, even the most internet savvy of us can fall foul to the online scammers. Language and linguistics student Maria grew up in the Philippines and moved to the UK when she first met her husband in 1999. But her 22-year marriage broke down during the pandemic, leaving her at a low ebb.
I feel so lonely, feeling so depressed with the situation. Everything is just hitting me.
Hoping to find new love, Maria signed up to an online dating site in 2021 and was overwhelmed with the response.
Less than 2-3 hours, I've got already people wanting to communicate with me. And then 2 days later, I have received a different message, and this message just stand out amongst the rest.
This message was from 51-year-old David Mills. He said he was a Canadian living in London. He told Maria he had read her profile and felt inspired by her.
These words that he's using is kind of like, this is just what I need. Someone to empathize me. And suddenly, just kind of connected in me at that moment.
David told Maria he was a construction site supervisor. His parents had died when he was a child, so he'd grown up with an uncle in New York. He also said he had a 9-year-old daughter from a previous relationship.
He told me, I understand everything you've said to me, Maria, and I felt really, really sorry. And I think this is the beginning that hopefully I can help you.
David promised that once lockdown had ended, he would travel to meet Maria in person.
But unfortunately, it didn't happen because he needs to go to Paris. And said to me that I won't be long, it would only take 3 weeks.
Towards the end of David's business trip in Paris, things started to change, as David told Maria he had found himself in financial difficulty.
He called me and he was feeling a bit down. I said, "What's up?" And he said, "Maria, I have a problem. My ex-partner, we had our joint account, both of our names, and I have not changed it. And she took money from my account."
David told Maria he was going to open a new bank account with his next paycheck, But in order to get this paycheck, he had to go to South Africa to finish a job, which meant having to postpone meeting up with Maria.
I was so disappointed, but he said, I will be safe, don't worry. I will look after myself because this is for us, this is for our future.
David told Maria he would be in South Africa for just 3 to 4 weeks. While he was there, they remained in constant communication. And then, Maria received a phone call.
He said to me, I'm in trouble. And then it just cut off. He called me early in the morning and he explained to me, Maria, I have colleagues died and several others injured. And it cost a lot of money. And he said, I don't know what to do.
David explained that there had been a mistimed explosion on the site and 3 of his colleagues had died, with several more injured. He was responsible for their lives and it was going to be costly.
And he said to me, how much money have you got in your bank? And I said, David, this is not you. And he said, I'm sorry, Maria. I'm asking you, Maria, whatever money you've got in your bank, is it possible you can send it to me? My friend said, I can lend you £500. So I messaged David, I said, will £500 be enough? And he said, that's not enough, but it would help.
To prove to Maria he had the means to pay her back, he sent a photo of his very healthy paycheck. With some of her worries put at ease, David then asked Maria for another £1,500.
And I thought to myself, where can I get this $1,500? I'm not rich. I don't have that money. And all I can do is just to reach out to friends.
Maria borrowed the £1,500 from her friends and transferred it to David. She then continued to take more money from friends, telling them what David had told her, that they would get paid back double the amount in 3 weeks' time.
When I look at my bank, I've actually sent him £6,600.
But after this last transfer of money, it appeared David's fortunes had turned.
He said to me that our job is complete now. I can go home. We can enjoy life.
Planning for their future together, David asked Maria to find a house in the UK that they could buy, and she found the perfect spot.
He said to me, this is just what I want, Maria. I want a place with beautiful scenery, wide open garden where we can enjoy life. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
But after sending David a final transfer of £2,000, Maria didn't hear from him for a number of weeks. Concerned something might have happened to him, she spent her time frantically trying to contact the police, hospitals, and the Canadian Embassy in Johannesburg to try and find him. No one had heard of the man she'd fallen in love with. It was then Maria realised she had in fact been scammed.
David Mill is not real. I feel like it's the end of the world. And not just the emotional aspect that has an impact in me. It's my friendship. I lost my friends. I lost their trust.
In fact, the photos of the man she knew as David are actually of a nightlife promoter who was in no way involved in the scam and has had his identity stolen. Maria is now being supported by Action Fraud and Citizens Advice, and she's learned important lessons about online dating.
The most important thing that I've learned in dating world is before even you start the initial friendship, you need to meet the person in real life.
Both Maria and Gill accept they behaved in ways that were deeply out of character after getting wrapped up in their online love affairs. Gill admits she even lied to her own family about her relationship with Michael. So I want to find out what it is that drives people to these extreme behaviours. I'm speaking to Dr. Gemma Calvert, a neuroscientist, to find out what's going on in our brains when we're under the spell of love.
So in our show, we're obviously dealing with people that met on a dating or social media site. What starts happening to our brain as soon as we start to have those conversations with people?
We start to evaluate people based on their sex appeal, I guess. And online, that's predominantly based on what they look like. And that in itself, I think, is quite an unnatural phenomenon, because other research has shown that when we have face-to-face meetings, we make decisions about potential partners based on things like the tone of their voice, their non-verbal body actions, as well as pheromones as well. And that area of the brain that is responsible for that kind of evaluation is called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. And it turns out that this assessment region is quite intimately connected with the emotional areas of the brain. So it sort of sets up a sense of anticipation or excitement, and we can feel our heart rate rising, and we can feel excitement, and that's quite rewarding. We've actually put individuals in a brain scanner and asked them to look at different individuals. And what we found was that during that evaluation, as well as these kind of cognitive areas, the areas involved in sexual arousal start to become activated. And the extent to which they do so can predict which person that individual is going to choose to go out with for a subsequent date.
What sort of chemicals does the brain release then during relationships? You know, it might change the way that we might feel about someone.
There are some sort of key love chemicals, if you like. These are called dopamine and serotonin. They're the sort of feel-good chemicals in the brain. They're activated not only in the context of romantic relationships, but underpin cravings for chocolate, for alcohol. So you can see it's extremely addictive, and it makes us feel good. And then we have a sort of rush of adrenaline. And it's interesting because these states of emotional arousal, which increase adrenaline, have been found to increase the attractiveness of two individuals to each other. So time, these scammers start to build up trust, and that releases oxytocin, which is the brain's kind of trust hormone, if you like. And it's involved in pair bonding, and it's fundamental to how these online scammers, I think, trap their victims in this toxic cycle. They understand how the brain works, and it's very clear. They invest a lot of time building up that bond of trust, but then they'll tell you some kind of tragic event has happened and there's an immediate need for financial solution. And they become increasingly aggressive, demanding, and they want you to act quickly. It's because they know if they give you too much time, our logical, rational system 2 decision-making system starts to kick in, right? And then we become less susceptible to making knee-jerk decisions about sending money.
So that's making it harder then, isn't it, for us to break away from a relationship, despite the fact that we might know it's bad for us.
And maybe normal relationships can get a bit sort of predictable at times. Now, with these toxic relationships, those behaviors are unpredictable, and the brain likes novelty. So that novelty and excitement in itself, even though it's for the wrong reason, is highly addictive. So we get sort of stuck into this addiction, you know, and it feels like you just can't get out.
One person that knows all about that addiction is Gill. I've already uncovered that the person Gill's talking to hasn't been honest about his phone numbers. But Gill was being contacted by other people online too, and they all had the same profile photo as Michael Roberts. This suggests to me that this is a photo of an innocent person being used by scammers. I'm meeting Dan Winchester from Scamalytics, a cybersecurity firm specialising in dating sites. Gill wants us to find who Michael's photos really belong to. It didn't take Dan long to find out.
Gill sent us a few photos of Michael, and what we did was ran one of those photos through a normal reverse image check, and straight away we can see that this is an identity stolen from someone called Dr. Kerem Bikmaz.
Wow.
Here's his official page, and he appears to be a Turkish neurosurgeon. Looks really legitimate. He's got a big social media presence. So what we did was we took a few of the photos that he has online.
Yeah.
And we just ran these through our database to see how many hits we got. And we actually got tens and tens of hits from this guy's identity. So his identity has basically been stolen quite a massive way. These are used on a wide variety of dating services, so not just one dating service. They date back to 2017. Again, he's got lots of different ages and stated countries. So we're in January 2022, Ash, and you can see that we've got 2 accounts just from the last few weeks. So this man's identity is still being used right now and has been used for years and years.
Dan, Gill has been approached by different people with different names, but the same photo. What's going on there?
So this identity, the hits that we found in our database, they also used lots and lots of different names. One of the names is Michael, but you can also see he's using a load of other names as well. Ordinary Western names like Christopher, David, but he also, interestingly, he's using Kerem Bigman, the name of the neurosurgeon whose identity has been stolen.
Yeah.
And the reason that he's doing that is he's taking the identity theft, the deception, to a new level.
I suppose in this case it saves the scammer the energy of having to create a completely new profile by relying on some of the existing facts of this person.
Yeah, and what we hear about is where somebody has handed over some money to a scammer. If that money then dries up, then that scammer will often sell on that lead to other scammers. And unfortunately, you do quite commonly see people falling for these types of scams.
Secondary, third, fourth scam.
Absolutely.
Grieving the loss of a loved one is never easy, and it can be a time when any of us would be at our most vulnerable. When Vivian Allonge was mourning the death of her husband, she was targeted ruthlessly by cold-hearted scammers, and the results were exceptionally cruel.
Vivian had been married for nearly 40 years to Nigerian merchant Navy captain Theo, but after battling cancer, he died in 2019.
When I lost Theo, it was devastating. We were planning on renewing our wedding vows. We were planning on being all together, sitting on a park bench. We thought we were there forever.
Coming to terms with Theo's death wasn't easy for Vivian. It took 18 months before she started to think about dating again.
I decided I was too young to be a widow, and I decided that I didn't want to be on my own for the rest of my life.
In September 2020, Vivian joined an online dating site. And it wasn't long before she was approached by Michael Anderson, who said he was originally from America, but now lived in Stevenage, where he worked as a luxury car dealer.
He's a good-looking, suave guy. When we initially got together, I thought it was an amazing feeling to know that I was still wanted after 42 years of a relationship.
Michael said he was also grieving, having lost his son in a tragic accident.
You're a good girl, Daisy.
The two soon struck up a relationship, talking over email, text and social media, until suddenly Michael fell silent.
I'd known him for about a month, and after that I didn't hear from him for 48 hours, and I started worrying. The next thing was, he calls me up and tells me that he'd spent all night in the police station because he'd lost his wallet. So therefore he'd lost his wallet, he had no credit cards, he had no access to money, and he needed my help.
Michael asked Vivian to loan him £800 so he could pay the customs charge on some luxury vehicles he was shipping from the US. But he made it clear to Vivian she'd get the money back, as he was expecting a big payday in the near future.
I wanted to believe him because of all the promises he made me. He specifically told me he had $3.5 million in this frozen now bank account, and it was a $1.5 million contract, and he needed my help to free up that money so that he could carry on.
Michael's business success reassured Vivian that she'd get her money back, so she agreed to transfer the money. And a few weeks later, Michael followed up with another request for support. He now needed cash to pay for the transportation of the vehicles.
The initial payment that I made to Michael was £1,500, followed by another £1,500, followed by another £1,500. And at the time, I was very lucky that I'd inherited my husband's savings.
Those savings were starting to dwindle, but she still believed at this stage that her relationship with Michael had potential. Whilst Michael's account was frozen, Vivian went on to pay for his food, accommodation, and also a financial advisor whom Michael hired to speed up getting his account reactivated. Despite her generosity towards him, when Vivian needed to help her children, Michael's reaction was quite the opposite.
My son was in a road traffic accident and he wrote off his car. And I was so worried about him and so concerned. And he said he wouldn't be able to get to work. Could I help him out? Michael contacted me. He got very mad with me. He told me, well, thank you for giving our money to David for a car.
Pushing her away from her son was a significant step for Vivian, and she told Michael enough was enough.
I tried to explain to Michael how much he was hurting me because he was taking my dead husband's money. And I said, Michael, can't do it anymore. This has gone on too long. I was starting to get to a pinch where if I didn't have an income coming in, I was going to end up being homeless. And he would go, how are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? You're stopping me getting this 1.5 million. I've told you I'll pay you it back.
Amidst the lies and manipulation, Vivian received a bizarre phone call.
I got what you call a bum call, I guess. He'd accidentally called me. During this bum call, I heard a lot of Nigerian voices in the background, as if he was in a pub or a nightclub. Well, I know Nigerian accent because my husband was Nigerian. I got really suspicious, so I messaged him, and he said he was out jogging in the park and he'd passed a load of Nigerians having a conversation. But they were speaking in pidgin English and I couldn't quite pick up everything, but they weren't somebody that you passed by.
Vivian wasn't willing to accept Michael's explanation and, realising she was being scammed, ended the relationship. In fact, the man in the photos is a totally innocent person that we have attempted to contact, whose images have been stolen by criminals. Being a victim of this kind of crime is something Vivian is still coming to terms with.
I felt really devastated, stupid, but I was so desperate for love, I guess. That's what turns you into a stupid person. By the time we stopped talking to each other, he had taken, it was around about £50,000. Losing the money isn't so important as it was my dead husband's money that he'd worked all his life for to provide for me. And this person came and took it all.
But there's a brighter future ahead for Vivian. She's since met a new partner and been able to move on with her life, putting Michael's lies behind her.
A friend of mine introduced me to the most amazing guy. He has been a big part of my healing process. He can't stop me crying. He's completely opposite to everything I've ever known in my life. He's gentle, he's loving, he's caring, and he's always there for me. Don't forget to take those meringues. No. I think he'd do literally anything for me. And I'm happy. I'm happy. Happy tears.
67-year-old psychiatric nurse Gill met surgeon Michael Roberts when he messaged her on social media. Gill fell for Michael and sent him Amazon gift cards. She also sent Michael £3,000 to pay for a visa so they could start a new life together in America. Worried she was being scammed, Gill cut contact with Michael, but continues to be bombarded by requests from him and people who look like him. She's hoping for closure and wanted us to find out who Michael really was.
In Michael and Jill's case, we do see a lot of emotional manipulation. A picture is being painted here and it's not looking good.
I mean, I don't know if she's going to be emotional about it or what. I have no idea.
It's time to reveal to Gill the findings of our investigation.
Hello, Gill. How have you been since we last met?
Angry.
Yeah?
Since I've been talking to you, I've been thinking, why was I so stupid?
No matter what you think and feel, you haven't done anything wrong here.
Yeah.
You are not to blame for anything that's happened.
The first thing we want to address with Gill is Michael's request for Amazon gift cards.
In your case, you sent a lot of money to Michael via Amazon gift cards.
Yeah.
We know from speaking with experts that this is a common tactic of scammers. And the reason for this is that they are very hard to trace. It's easier to trace money than it is to trace money via a gift card. So we're seeing more often that scammers are using these gift cards and getting potential victims like yourself to pay money via gift cards.
Yeah.
That information so far, how is that for you?
It's still quite emotional for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one thing when you have an idea of something and then as soon as you've got the facts of it, and that becomes real, although it's...
Yeah, it's infuriating.
Yeah.
Gill was also in regular contact with Michael in America on 2 different phone numbers, but there's something fishy about those numbers as well.
Michael told you he was based in the US, but neither number you gave us for him is US based. We traced those numbers. One number was from London. And when we looked at it, it had been repeatedly identified as a scam call.
Really?
Jill, I'm so sorry to say this, but it suggests that it's been used by scammers many occasions to try and dupe people. Now, the second number was a Nigerian number. We know from previous cases that Nigeria is a hot spot for scammers.
So does that mean it's 2 people?
Online romance fraud is now seen as organised crime, and we know a hell of a lot of people are involved, and with your case, there could be scores of people operating just to get your money.
We'll never know exactly,
Yeah.
but I think it's safe to say that there's probably a big organisation.
Next, it's time to present our findings on the photos Gill was sent of the man claiming to be Michael. Though that was just one of the identities he took on.
We took your case to Dan Winchester. He is an online dating fraud expert. He looked into Michael and his photos, and what he found was quite troubling.
Okay.
The photos that Michael sent you were found on a huge variety of dating websites. And what you probably should know is that you are not the only person to fall for these photos. Other people have, and other people have been targeted by them, more importantly. Dan and his team found these photos were being used to create new profiles that were made as recently as this month. And uncovered almost 100 different hits on these photos.
What? 100?
Mm-hmm.
And each and every one of them has paid thousands.
Now it's time to tell Gill who the man in the images really is, an innocent person unrelated to the scam.
We began a reverse image search of some of the photos that you were sent, and our investigation into Michael, the photos led us to a verified Instagram page. These photos belong to a man called Dr. Karam Bikmaz. He's a neurosurgeon in Turkey.
No.
It's mad, isn't it?
You recognise that photo?
Yeah. Yeah, nearly all of them.
This is a doctor who is well known, over 60,000 followers. Because he's a public figure with open settings, he is a dream for a scammer because they can just take his content and create all these fake profiles.
No.
That doctor also is victim here.
You okay?
Don't worry.
You've just blown me away. It's not very often I'm speechless. I feel as if I've been hit by a concrete slab or something because they've invaded my life,
They took
destroyed my confidence.
Yeah, they took a part of you away.
Yeah.
Jill, if you've been scammed once, there is a likelihood that scammers will approach you a second, third, fourth time. You now need to have your wits about you online because scammers have your details. That's not to scare you, it's just so that you are best prepared for if it does happen again.
Yeah, it's not happening.
We want to call Michael to see what he's got to say about ripping Gill off.
Would you be up for giving the scammer a call to give him a piece of your mind? Kim's here, Kim can have a chat as well.
Yeah.
But when we try, Michael's suddenly gone quiet.
No, it's not answering, is he? When I met you, you said what you were looking for was closure.
Yeah,
Do you think we've given you that?
definitely.
Well, now you have the tools you need to be able to make the right decisions and move forward.
Yeah. It's gone.
Let's see it.
Yes, Jill. Come on, Jill.
Look,
Yes.
Yes, good for you, Jill.
gone.
That's great. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Even though she seemed to know that it was a scam, there was still part of her that was holding out for it to be real.
Yeah, she did. I don't know whether that was about the money. I mean, she lost everything that she had. It must have been devastating for her.
There was just so much. To be honest with you, I didn't expect any of that. I've got closure now. It's the end of a bad chapter. And I'll be glad to see the back of it.
If you think you've been scammed in a similar way or been asked to send money to someone you're talking to online, then we'd like to hear from you. Email loveormoney@bbc.co.uk.
Join us again
But I just couldn't believe the heartlessness of it.
as we're on the case of yet another cold-hearted crook.
He showed me 2 dead people on the platform that had been killed by the sharks.